What's up guys, Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I'm back with some more lessons. I was kind of obsessed with that drum cover that I did for the last video. It took me about a month to get it down, so I thought I'd bring up a kind of a related topic. And I saw somewhere online somebody was kind of talking bad about being self-taught as a guitar player. And for much of my guitar career, I was self-taught. I did take lessons and I went to classes for guitar and music. But in the very beginning, I got pretty good just learning on my own. So I thought, especially nowadays with the internet, how much you guys have access to information. It's a lot easier to do what I did the hard way back in the old days. But you still need certain qualities if you want to be a self-taught guitar player and actually get anywhere with it. I notice some people who say they're self-taught, they seem to run out of steam after a while, and I believe it's because they might be lacking some of these qualities. So what I want to do is I want to talk about my top 8 qualities that you should have if you want to be a self-taught guitar player and if you want to get anywhere with it. So let's start off with the first obvious one. The first thing that you should really want to do all the time is practice. So you have nobody telling you, because you're not taking lessons, that you should be practicing. You know, a lot of my students, they're kind of guilty of this. They'll come in and I'll say, how much did you practice this week? And they kind of look embarrassed and they always say, well, practiced a little bit before I got here. So I know at least they're practicing a little bit before their lesson because they sort of feel that pressure of showing up and letting their teacher down. They don't want to do that, so they at least practice a little bit. But if you're self-taught, you have to take it upon yourself to pick up that guitar. It's so funny when I hear the excuse of, oh, I forgot to practice from some of my students. And I'm like, well, it's a lame excuse, but at least take your guitar out of the case, set it on your bed or somewhere where you can see it so you don't forget. Obviously, if they were self-taught, they wouldn't get very far as getting better, because if they're not even remembering to take the guitar out of the case, that's a huge red flag right there. So make sure you have the urge to want to practice. It might not happen right away. Like, I had a guitar sitting in the corner of my room when I was 10 years old. It sat there for 2 years before I even picked it up. So sometimes you can develop that over time, but you really do have to eventually have that strong urge to practice. Okay, the second quality you need to have is the hunger for knowledge. Some people just want to play on the guitar and sound kind of good, and they don't really care about filling in the gaps of knowledge that they might have. And, sometimes it seems like they don't even care. Some people play and I'll be like, what chord are you playing? And they won't have any idea. And then they'll just move on. And to me, that seems a little bit crazy. Not that you have to be a theory expert or anything like that, but I find the hunger for knowledge is very just natural for me. I always want to know how things work, so that if it comes down to it, I really know what I'm doing. And better yet, if I want to teach it in the future, I have the capability to do it because I understand it inside and out. So having a healthy hunger for knowledge is huge. The third thing is something that you can take care of easily. It's not something you have to develop. It's have a good resource for knowledge. What I mean by that is some people know they want to know more about guitar, but they're not sure what they should learn next. And that's a huge problem when you're self-taught, because there are so many different things out there on the internet. There's a billion lessons and you don't know where to put things, what order to go in. That's a big one. And so what happens is, let's say you wanted to learn about modes, but you don't even know how to create a major scale correctly. That's going to be a big problem. That's going, putting the cart before the horse, I think the saying is. So having a good working knowledge of the order of things is huge. That's kind of why I developed my website too, is so people can look at the table of contents and see, oh, first we learn this, then this comes, and this. If you don't have that, it's really easy to jump around and sort of have all these gaps in your knowledge because you don't really have a workflow happening. So that's one thing that Art of Guitar is good for. It's really set up in an order so that you know everything in order, and it builds upon the last lesson. That's huge. So find a resource that does that, whether it's my site or somebody else's. Just make sure you have a working idea of what you're aiming towards. Okay, you're going to have the ambition to challenge yourself with difficult things, okay? So it's really easy to play over and over again what you're already good at. I do that all the time. But I remember when I first bought my first tab book, it was Joe Satriani's Flying in a Blue Dream. And it was so difficult, but I loved the challenge of it. So I believe I got pretty far right away because I just said, you know what, I'm going to go for the hardest stuff I can do. That may have not have been the best idea at that time because I barely knew how to play a pentatonic scale, and here I was trying to do legato. But it did really set the bar high for me. And I think because I had the ambition to go after difficult things, soon those difficult things became easier and easier. And then I would play something that I thought was pretty easy, and people who were listening were like, wow, that was crazy. So if you do set your sights high, it's pretty amazing where you can get. However, if you're happy just being in the middle and just doing what you're good at all the time, sure, you'll be good at that, but that's pretty much all you're going to have on the table. Okay, this one's pretty tough, especially for people nowadays. You have to have the drive or the urge to want to collaborate with people. When you're in guitar lessons, you feel like you're always collaborating with your guitar teacher. It's this cool exchange. You know, you show them your ideas, they play off of it. It feels like you kind of satisfy that feeling of collaboration. But I was pretty lucky. Early on, I had a best friend who played guitar, and we just played riffs together, and it was a lot of fun to feel that collaboration, that collaborative feeling. But if you're self-taught, it's really easy to fall into the trap, especially if you don't have a lot of friends that play, or any friends that play instruments, to just sit and be a bedroom player all the time. And that can lead to a sort of strange isolation that sometimes makes you not look forward to playing the guitar, because some people are a little more social, and if they get it together with some other people and play, it just opens this whole new dynamic with guitar playing. And so it kind of makes them want to get better because they know the next time they collaborate with somebody, they want to have certain songs ready to go. They want to just be better in general. So you have to find that collaborative spirit by yourself. So you have to reach out. You have to, maybe even just jump on Facebook and ask people if they want to jam. You have to join groups. You have to do all that stuff yourself. It's very important, especially because you're not going to have that teacher there for you every week to bounce things off of. This is sort of in the same vein, but you need to find that ability to tap into your creative side. So a lot of, especially prodigies you see online, they're always playing other people's music. And when it comes down to it, being able to create your own music is huge. Being able to write your own chord progressions, improvise, and all that good stuff is very important when you're by yourself, because you might not even be aware that that's something you need to add to your abilities. So if you have a teacher, sometimes they force you, okay, you should improvise over this chord progression. I do that all the time with my students. Or I help them write their own songs, let's say. But if you're not even aware that that was an important thing for guitar players to learn, sometimes it just goes by the wayside, and then you never develop it until it's almost too late. You're already jamming with people, maybe in a cover band, and you never quite tap into that creative world, which is such a huge thing for music. It's a great way to express yourself and just tap into other parts of your brain that you normally don't get to do. Okay, here's a tough one. When you don't have a teacher to bounce your playing off of, it's hard to be self-aware enough to know if you're doing something poorly or even great. So you might play something you think is really great, but your technique's off, you don't sound as good as you might think you do, and nobody's there to really tell you that. So to be a self-taught guitar player, you really have to take advantage, especially of today's technology, and be able to record yourself, do videos of yourself playing, watch your technique, compare it to other players online, and really see if you're doing something that's going to hinder you in the future. Of course, we focus on this on the website, but if you're not checking that out, then you really have to take it upon yourself to self-evaluate. It's so huge. Sometimes with drumming, especially lately, I'll do a beat, and then I'll listen to it back, and I'll go, wow, I didn't even realize I was playing ahead of the beat the whole time, or behind, or that this fill wasn't coming through the way I thought it was supposed to. And with jiu-jitsu, too, I recorded myself rolling with somebody a couple months ago, and I didn't realize I was putting my feet in certain places. I was kind of flopping like a fish when I should have been doing other things. And I was thinking, I never had that perspective before, because I'm always struggling. I'm always in first person, of course, mode. And when you take a look at it from the outside, sometimes you see things you never would have seen before. So you have to have that self-awareness to look at yourself from the outside and be able to self-correct. Okay, and the last one is so huge. You have to have the fortitude, or as the pro wrestlers used to say, the intestinal fortitude, to keep going and to not quit when things either get difficult or even if you get bored. So you have to be able to dig deep and find the passion that you have for the instrument. And at first you might not have that passion. That happened to me. Like I said, I had the guitar in the corner of my room for 2 years before I even picked it up. But over time I developed the passion for playing guitar, and nothing could take me away from it. I would practice so long, all of a sudden I would be concentrating so hard, all of a sudden I would drool on the guitar, And I was like, whoa, I was just in a different world, a different state of mind there. And so I got so passionate about it that nothing could drag me away from the guitar. I would spend 8 hours a day and the day would just fly by, and I was just working on some Megadeth riffs or something. So when it comes down to it, it was easy for me to have the fortitude not to quit because I had the passion driving it. But especially when you don't quite have that yet, you have to have that inner drive to keep going and not quit when things get difficult or when you get bored. Sometimes I have students that come in and they're not really sure why they play. And so they kind of get bored. They see guitar as something they have to do, not something they want to do. And it's easy for them to just let it go. And it's kind of sad for me to see that because I know in the future they're going to regret it. I've never had a student who quit guitar say they were glad they quit guitar in the future. They always say, oh, I should have stuck with it. You know, I just wasn't totally into it at the time, or I didn't think I was good enough, or things got too difficult and I couldn't handle it. So having that fortitude to carry on, that stick-to-itness, is so huge because no matter if you're doing great or terrible or whatever, you're going to get through it because you're going to pick yourself up and you're going to get back on that horse, as they say, and eventually good things come to you if you just keep coming back to it, all right? And it's great, just not giving up too. You look back and you sort of feel proud of yourself that you made it through all those times. But I really wanted to focus this in on people that think, oh, I'll never get anywhere because I'm just sitting here by myself learning off YouTube or something. So I wanted to give you hope and show you that I got very far with the self-teaching that I did for myself, and I know you can too. If you can let me know in the comments what you guys do that are self-taught that have really helped you out, and that'd be awesome. So, all right, guys, we'll catch you soon. We're going to do a bunch of videos next week. It's my birthday tomorrow, actually probably today. Oh, in 15 minutes. So I'm going to sort of take a few days off and have fun or whatever, but I'll be back with a new artist series. I have a couple of them ready to go, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll catch you then, okay? Thanks, guys. Bye.